This is my reading speed. It's slow. So slow in fact that reading the whole Bible would take me almost 5 days. That's why I'm gonna do everything in my power to be in 10th percentile of people. Is it doable? We'll see. I started by watching a tutorial on how to read faster. So these are the most important points on how to read faster and remember the things that you read. You need to cut the inner monologue, which means do not read the things that you read in your head as if you're reading them out loud, because it makes it a lot slower. Another thing is to read with a finger, because our eyes jump from one place to the other, like this, instead of following smoothly the lines. And that's why we use the finger, to first of all pace ourselves, so that we are not stopping at a word, and so that our eyes go smoothly from left to right. Another thing is to read interesting books. If we read a book that is not interesting, we are not gonna read it with focus, and thus you're not gonna recall what you've just read. Another thing is to skip first and last words, because they are gonna be seen by our peripheral vision. Try to read this word by looking at this word. You can do it, right? And the same with this. Versus a large what? Versus a large income. But you don't have to read the income. You can stop your eyes there, because this word you're gonna see by your peripheral vision. I can see this hand, and it's pretty much 180 degrees to my left. We can see a lot with our eyes. And to remember the shit that you read, you need to implement the things that you read about into your life. It's the best way to memorize stuff. If you read a chapter and you see that it's a cool concept and that you could apply it to your life, apply it to your life. So now I'm gonna take the book, I'm gonna read for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna count the words that I read during these 15 minutes, and we're gonna see if we improved even a little bit. So I just read for 15 minutes, and I read at the rate of 162 words per minute, which is 50% more than I did before, which is good, but I'm also 250 words away from my goal, which seems quite undoable. But it was hard to read from the second word and reduce the narrator from my head at once, so I have to learn first to not read these things out loud, and then I'm gonna start reading from the second or the third word. And I was also using my finger. Now I'm gonna read for 15 minutes, and I'm gonna stick to the first 2 points, which is cutting the inner monologue and reading with a finger. And after that 15 minutes, I'm gonna try reading from like the second or the third word from the start and end at the second or third word from the back, so that I read just the middle and my peripheral vision sees the first and last words. Let's get to reading. I had been reading at the rate of 224 words per minute, which is 2 times faster than I used to, but my recall is a lot worse. Even though I try to turn off the narrator in my head, I can't really do that. You have the line of words, and I read like 3 of them, but out loud still. But I really try to turn it off, and I happen to be able to do that sometimes, but then my recall is non-existent. I think I'm gonna try the third point on the list, which is skipping a few words, and maybe that hopefully is gonna teach me to not speak them out loud. I now read at the rate of 168 words per minute. I need to practice reading a lot more, and I think it's gonna give me better results. At the beginning, of course, it's gonna be slower, because I'm not used to not saying the words out loud but in my head. I believe that it's gonna improve, but it's so hard to read from the second word, especially that my left eye is not perfect. It's kinda blurry. Something has to change. First thing that has to change is the book that I'm reading. 12 Rules for Life is a philosophical book. Philosophy books I don't think are the best for learning to read fast. I think these are the ones that you should take more slowly to understand the topics and to reflect on them. That's why I'm gonna read this book. This book has really big font, which is gonna make it more easy to read and to learn to read faster. The second thing, I'm reading for 15 minutes at a time, and then I'm checking how many words have I read in these 15 minutes. I think 15 minutes is quite much. When people check how much they read, they usually would read for like 1 minute, 2 minutes, like it's a words per minute. So you can read for 1 minute, you get a measure, how many words can you read. Is this accurate? No, hell nah. But this is gonna boost my score when I'm gonna really need it? Yes. I'm gonna start the 5-minute timer and I'm gonna see how many words can I read in these 5 minutes. And also the fact that the book that I'm reading is in my native language. The previous book that I was reading was in English, so that might have disrupted my reading speed. So now I'm gonna read this book for 5 minutes and we're gonna see what the results are. I just read and I finished my calculations. And I read at the rate of 304 words per minute. The thing that changed was the language of this book. When I switched to Polish, it's 304. And the second factor was obviously the duration of 5 minutes. And my recall of the book is quite good as well. I read that to be creative, you have to have a nice routine that you like following. Maybe you're more productive at night, or maybe you're more productive right when you wake up. That's when you should do some creative work. That's what I recall from reading this book for 5 minutes. I'm very happy. I'm only 100 words away from my goal. But reading in my language made it a lot easier to not use narrator in my head, because I've used this language for my whole life. I have immediate recognition of the word that I read. And I believe tomorrow is gonna be the day in which you're gonna break the 400 mark. Now I'm gonna start a 5-minute timer. I'm gonna see how many words have I read in these 5 minutes. Unless it's 400, I'm gonna start a 1-minute timer. And I'm gonna read for this 1 minute. And we're gonna see how this improves our reading speed. Let's do it. Five minutes up. And now I'm gonna count the words and I'm gonna see how many have I read. I read at the rate of 324 words per minute, which is just 76 from 400. Do I recall what I've read? I do. 3 points were mentioned there. To make lists, like checklists, to set yourself a place and the time in which you're gonna be the most productive. And the third point was to not start your day with some stressful activity. So I do recall what I've read, which is very surprising, considering that I've read at the rate of 320 words per minute. But it's still more than 70 words away from my goal. So I'm gonna meditate for like 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna start the 1-minute timer and we're gonna see, can I break the 400 words per minute barrier? Let's do it. All right. 44, 45. Alright, so 9 words in every line, 45 lines. Calculator and hopefully. Holy fuck! I did it! I did it. Do I recall what I've read? I do. I mean, the author continued on the topic of not using your phone as the first thing in the morning. Type in comments what challenges you wanna see me doing next. Subscribe if you want, and see you till next time.